What's up guys, it's crohmbs here and I hope everyone is doing fantastic. For today's video I'm actually going to be showcasing a WESKER tutorial for WESKER. I've been getting a ton of requests for this over the past couple of days and it's pretty simple to grasp and to showcase, so I'm going to try my best to help you guys out with it in this video. So let's get right into it. So the first map we're going to be starting on is Autohaven. Autohaven is my personal favorite and my easiest in my opinion. It's very simple and there's a ton of spots that you can do it on, and I also feel like on Autohaven it's very easy to actually get use out of this, as there's a lot of connecting loops around it. So let's get right into it. There's three main spots that I would like to showcase on Autohaven, this being this side, and the middle. I would like to give you guys a basic explanation on what actually is WESKER. So if I come to this hill and let's say I press mouse 1 right here, as you guys can see, I either get stuck or I slip right off of the hill, but I don't get any distance. Whereas if I were to back up a little, I definitely get a little bit more distance, but still nothing like you guys see me do on the regular. Now if I can back up a little and find the right angle, I can actually gain a lot of momentum off this hill. So let's use this angle for example, which is my personal favorite and the easiest. It's very easy to get value out of this. All you gotta really do is click mouse 1 and you'll pretty much go flying. I would assume that this is because of this, which is you have a small little ramp here and you also have these rocks. And I think essentially what happens is you curve down the ramp, giving you momentum, and then you're basically yeeted off these rocks. The only difference is that these rocks go a little bit up, so you have something like this, which is still a decent amount of momentum, but nothing compared to what you guys just saw. Essentially, anywhere along this ledge will be perfectly fine to WESKER off of, as they all tend to have a downwards ramp, but usually I tend to stick to right here in the middle, as that will give me the most momentum as possible. Now let's get on to the other side. The other side is going to be a tiny bit more tricky, but way easier than the middle instead. So, your key spot right here is going to be right around here. As you can see, that little rock curves down. Let me demonstrate. Here, and go. Obviously there's a rock here, but you guys could see how much speed I have. Just bad RNG. But you guys could definitely see how much speed I got. Even going here, still a ton of speed. Now obviously I don't maintain that height with the speed due to the curving of the ramp. But as you guys can see, very easy. All you want to maintain about this much distance. Now if I get too close still, see how I go nowhere. So distance and angle is probably the most important key of this. Wow, these guys are super optimal on gens. Now here's where it gets a little bit tricky. The middle. The middle is going to have jagged rocks all over the place. But if you find the right area, you can definitely still get some great momentum off of it. The personal spot that I use when it comes to these rocks is right around here. This essentially gives me the most momentum possible, and I do this by lining up the curve of these two rocks, so you guys can see it pretty easily. And this will send me flying. It can be a bit tricky over here, but if you do angle yourself right, you can still get some pretty good momentum. But I do really encourage you guys to just try it yourself. The thing about WESKER is the more you try and send yourself off hills, the more you're going to learn what works and what doesn't. Now let's get on to the next map's Macmillan. Okay, for the next ramp, we're going to be doing Macmillan. Macmillan has one specific area that is super consistent, and the rest can be a bit tricky. So this area would be this rock. This rock has never failed me, and I don't think it ever will. It's so simple. All you do is just click mouse 1 on it. For some reason, that rock works wonders. Now, I actually managed to get real-time value against one of the bots on this, and I'll showcase that on stream right now. So yeah, that was pretty cool, but now let's get on to the more trickier sides. The only place that I even attempt in game is right around here. This can be done very simple, just with the angle of right around here and just sending myself that way. Sometimes, very much depending on the angle, the exact pixels, how far you are away from it. You'll get sent very far. Sometimes you'll get cut over. That's why I usually don't touch Macmillan hills in games. Besides this, because this is extremely consistent. But the other side is definitely more easy than this side. This side is very tricky. So the other side would just be as simple as this. Now obviously I had to restart the game to the bot's dying, but this side is extremely simple. It relates a lot to the Autohaven hills. Whereas you have a small decline right here, and then you also have rocks to meet it at the bottom. This allows you to get a lot of momentum and also maintain your height when you're flying off of it. So this side and right here is what I like to stick to in my games. Now, just being completely transparent, I do not use this side in my games. I do recommend that if you are planning to use it, that you definitely practice it in customs. As to where this and this side is super easy, this can be a bit tricky. The only thing that I use might be this, and that is a bit tricky as well. But that'll be the only time in which I'm using this side at all. But with that being said, let's get into the next realm, which will be Red Forest. Now when it comes to the Red Forest hills, these are actually extremely easy. As much as I do honestly despise this rework, I will give it to Behavior. They made the hills very nice when it comes to collision, and you really never have to worry about WESKER when it comes to them. I'm just going to show you guys a couple of examples on how easy this actually is. Now obviously this is the easiest thing in the world. You're going to get a ton of momentum off that side, and then if you were to come over to this side, for some odd reason you were using it for this, you're going to put in between this tree and this rock, boom, ton of momentum. You also maintain your height due to the little rock at the end of that right there. This is where I'd use it if I were to go for off to this. I would do that. Obviously without that hook there, I'm going flying. Now obviously if the totem was in here, I could go do this. But even with that totem there, I get a ton of momentum from that as well. I'm not going to spend too much time explaining this because this realm is extremely easy. But yeah, practice this in your games and tell me if you guys need any more help in the comments. And I'll be sure to get to them. Now let's go on to Ward. Asylum and Campbell's. Now before we get into the Ward Hills, I'd like to give you guys a few little tips and tricks here and there. So as much as you think this might be doable, this is a little bit tricky, so you got to watch out for that little indent in the rock. This is perfect. That gives you probably the most momentum out of the hill total. Now coming from this side, I like to aim for this little crack here. I think that gives you a ton of momentum, and that's essentially what I'll stick with. I'll stick with either here, because obviously that's going to send me flying, or I will send to the direct diagonal side of that, and I'll stick to this little crack here. And I think, honestly, that'll wrap it up for the Ward Hills. These are pretty simple, just because there's not many angles. With that being said, you just gotta watch out for some things. But usually from here to here is a yes. From here to here is a no. From here to here is a yes. From here to here is a no. That's what I use in my games personally. If you guys did want to find an angle around here, feel free to put it in my Discord and I will happily react to it and put it in the comments below. Now let's get on to the Coldwind Hills. Okay, here we are, loaded onto Coldwind. We did get a chest here, which is a little unlucky for the tutorial, but I can maneuver around it. So these hills are actually pretty easy, probably top 3 easiest. For here, you're just gonna avoid this rock, but anywhere around it, it's gonna be fair game. You just want to avoid this little tiny rock in the center. That's for that side of the hill. Now these might look like they'll mess with your bounce, but honestly they don't. As long as you shy away from over here, usually right around here will be perfect. And will give you a ton of distance and a ton of momentum. Now coming over to the other side, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to avoid this little rock here. Stick to around here. Perfect. Ton of momentum. The bots are finally cleansing. Spraying, sorry. We also can go right here at kind of an angle there, but we don't get much height from that, so it's not too useful. But I think that sums it up for this rock. But I actually did have a surprise to show you guys that I've been working on recently with the harvester. Now when it comes to this harvester, for some reason the bump logic around it makes no sense. Like for example, I get so much momentum from that. So you're gonna have to figure out the angle, but to specifically land on these. But if you just wanted to use this for distance, I wouldn't blame you, because I don't know why the bump logic on this is like that, but you do kind of just go flying. But usually for landing on those hail bales, I'll try to stick towards there, and I'll land perfectly there, in which I can either vault the window or cut someone there. And that's about it for this map. But I just wanted to give you guys a little bonus tip on harvester, as I've recently found that out. I haven't got to use it in a game yet, but I look forward to it. Now I know there's no hill on this map, but you're gonna have to bear with me. So recently on Dead Dog, I've been trying to figure out a way to skywesker off of flat platforms like this, such as Gallows, and I believe I have figured out something involving that little rebound off the edge of that, if you can kind of see what I'm talking about. And this could be used on actually a lot of maps, so I'm very glad I found it. But essentially, if you rebound into that little corner, and then I like to Euro bend at the same time, but I don't think it's necessarily necessary. It gives you a decent amount of speed boost, and I believe this can be done on the other side as well. Obviously a little bit trickier, but it does give you a little bit of a speed boost, and I think I could classify this as skywesker. But obviously that's just a little bonus tip that I've been working on, and I wanted to leak it here. But with that being said, that is all of the maps and realms I'm going to include in this tutorial. Please let me know if there's anything specific that you've been working on yourself that you'd like me to give a shot myself at. Obviously feel free to join the Discord, where we have a community of WESKER players like myself who are all just having fun on this beautiful character. But I am going to wrap this up here, so I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one.